Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of the Upland Social, brought to you by Gundog Central and Ballad of the Bird Dog.
Hey, Rooster. Good girl. Good girl. Nice shot! Fetch it up, Willow! Call Willow! Right there, right there! Woohoo!
Today's guest is Kellen Golightly from Honeyville, Utah. Kellen is an avid upland hunter, the host of the Bird Camp Radio, and the author of Where the Grouse Once Drummed. Whether he's behind the microphone, writing about the uplands, or chasing birds with good dogs, he's passionate about preserving the traditions, stories, and conservation efforts that keep our sport alive. We're talking storytelling, bird hunting culture, conservation, and what inspires both his work on the page and behind the mic. Kellen, thanks for joining us today on the show, buddy. I'm really looking forward to this.
Thank you for having me. I love the introduction.
Yeah, man. Well, so obviously I gave listeners a brief overview of you there, but fill us in a little bit more on the details of Kellen and, just your story, man, and, just anything that you want to kind of kick things off here with about yourself.
Yeah, so as you mentioned in my bio, I'm from Honeyville, Utah, and we got talking earlier. I'm excited because I might be the possible first Utahn on the podcast, you said.
Yeah.
I'm going to be excited to be able to share a little bit about that. But I'm from up north. I'm about 20 minutes just south of the Idaho border. So we're up in a little rural town called Honeyville, Utah. I've grown up in the same county my whole life, born and raised.
Yeah.
Been a lot of fun. I mean, I grew up upland hunting behind two Labrador retrievers named Tell and Dodgy, and ever since those moments, I mean, it's sparked a light within me at a young age, and I've just kept with it 25 years later.
Yeah, I love that, man. As I was saying before we hit record here, I think Utah, people don't realize, not to hotspot it too much, but people don't realize how much of a gem it is when it comes to upland birds and just the variety of the bird species that you can get into there. Do you remember what your first upland bird was that you harvested?
That would have been a pheasant. So where I'm at, it's kind of interesting because I live in a rural area. My family grew up doing a lot of farming, like on my mom's side. So we have a lot of property out where we live. And growing up, they would lease it out to other hunters. But the first few weeks, we had the opportunity to go out and hunt. So once I turned 12, Dad put a 12-gauge shotgun in my hand and said, "Let's do it." And so we just walked the roads and the old canal ditches with our dogs and just shooting birds left and right while the neighbors are watching just across the street. And it was great having those kind of opportunities like that.
Yeah, and those were wild birds, right?
Yeah. So kind of an interesting thing with Utah now, and I've been able to see that transition in my lifetime. And we used to have quite a bit of I'd say, wild population, but anymore nowadays, the DWR is now releasing pheasants every year, which is interesting because we started out when I came into hunting with it, we had a 2-week span hunting pheasants, and now we're up to over a month here in Utah hunting pheasants, but it's mostly farm birds that are releasing now, so pen raised, and so it's a good opportunity, but you're getting a mix nowadays.
Sure. Yeah, but it does seem like, from what I gather, that there's still like a huntable population of wild birds, like in Utah, which you don't. It's definitely not the first bird that comes to mind, for most of us, when you think of Utah. But it seems like there's still some huntable like wild pheasants if you've got the right places that you have access to or the right public piece that you're on. Right. It
For
sounds like.
sure. For
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
like you said, Utah's a great state. We call it the sleeper state for sure
Mm-hmm.
'cause, digging into a little bit of that, um, here in Utah, roughly 70% of the state is public land.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're looking at the majority of public lands, and that's between state and federal. But besides that, we also have our walk-in access as well. So quite a bit of our farm owners, especially around this area, are a part of that
Mm-hmm.
commitment there. So we're able to hunt a lot of walk-in access on top of our public state and federal lands. So
Yeah.
it makes it quite nice that way.
Yeah. That's cool. That's cool. Um, so do you with your first pheasant, do you remember, like, was it a very like pronounced memory that you remember, or is it just kind of a blur of you just remember just shooting a lot of them back in the day when you were first getting your legs underneath of you as an upland hunter, or is it a very like just kind of burned into your memory of your first bird?
So I remember this, and I'll have to send you the picture of it because it's quite the funny story. I mean, everything around it. Of course, we were hunting behind my dad's bird dogs. We were on our family property out in more of the marsh area. And it was kind of funny because it was me, my dad, little brother and sister. I mean, my little brother had to have been like 6 years old. My sister's 2 years younger than me. I couldn't have been any younger than 12. I was probably 12, 13 around there. She was about 10. There's a there's a picture of us with my first bird. I mean, the dog
Yeah.
splashed and shot, but my little brother is out there with his Angry Birds hat on, hunting with us. My sister's got like this. It was a cold day, and she was like really into like wolves at the time. I mean, we are just young, so she had like this wolf ex Eskimo beanie
Yeah.
on, and there's just a picture of us with my bird. We're just grinning with this. It's just funny to be able to see the transition now, because every year, I mean, as we get older, I mean, we're all in our late teens or early 20s now at this point, and every year, still to this day, pheasant opener. I mean, we all have our own lives now. We're all separated. I mean, getting together to do these hunts is quite difficult at times, even though we live somewhat close. It's just life. Every year, it's tradition that we at least start the pheasant opener and hunt together, and it's been fun to be able to. We get a picture every year ever since then of
Yeah.
of just transition from that day to what it is now. So
Yeah.
it's quite
Yeah.
special in that aspect.
That's cool. Yeah, you guys need to like stage like that same photo like as adults. You know how that was kind of like a trend there for a while to do that, like a picture from like 15, 20 years ago when you were a kid, and then like to like recreate it. So that'd be kind of fun to do.
We definitely have to do that. That's a great idea. I'll have to see if we got everything. I bet they still have everything, so we'll have to
Yeah,
do that.
yeah, that's good, man. So when you're not hunting pheasants, like take us through like what other. I mean, obviously the rough grouse. You wrote a book about rough grouse, and we're definitely gonna get into that here after a bit. But yeah, like what else? What else can you get into around there around home?
Yeah, so Utah has quite a diverse and variety of wild game birds. So typically each year, starting September 1 to February 15th, you can hunt game birds and
Yeah,
wild birds, and it's absolutely amazing in that aspect. So September, we're looking at. I mean, we start out with doves, um, chucker, Hungarian partridge, grouse. So your ruffed and blue grouse. Blue grouse being actually native here to Utah, which is kind of fun to be able to hunt one of our native birds that way.
hmm
Um, but yeah, we got pheasants, chucker, um, Hungarian partridge, ruffed grouse, blue grouse, sage grouse, sharptail, and pheasant. So it's great that way because you get throughout those months. you're able to hunt a very diverse variety of birds that
Sure.
way. Um, Chucker being the longest one that we have. Chuckers run from, I believe, September 28th to February 15th every year. It is Utah's longest open season hunt that we have. So
Okay.
it's fun being able to hunt them pretty much. I mean, many months a year.
Yeah,
So
like half of the year basically. Yeah.
yeah, it's great.
So by the time like January, February, like is that basically the only bird that's still in season?
Pretty much. So uh, when it comes to rough grouse and blue grouse, you're hunting those up till December 31st. So at
Okay.
the last day of the year, and then after that, it's those chucker Hungarian partridge.
Mhm.
And I mean, I feel like that's what Utah has become known for. Where
Mhm.
I'm at, growing up, we did a lot of waterfowling and upland. That's why I grew up with Labradors because they were able to really, I mean, around here they can do both, you know. And so I grew up that way. We actually have a migratory bird refuge within our county, so when it comes to waterfowling, it's pretty great in that aspect
Mhm.
too. But um, growing up, I mean, we just had those bird dogs, and so it's great to be able to have that, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's really good. You said something there that piqued my curiosity. You said that the blue grouse, the duskies, they're native. So are you saying that the ruffs are not native there and that they've been introduced into that area?
That's a good question. So, I honestly don't know. The only reason why I know that they're native is because a few months ago, we had our upland game coordinator on the podcast to talk about the grouse species. And I don't know if rough grouse, she never did mention that rough grouse are, but she was talking about how the blue grouse are one of the native species, upland game species here in Utah. So I'm guessing that roughs aren't. I'm guessing that they've been introduced, but nobody told me to that. I'm not quite sure.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting cuz like the if you look at the map and the distribution for ruffed grouse, as you probably know, they're most widely distributed game bird in North America. Um, but it's interesting to me that like they're in Utah, but as far as I know, like Colorado, just next door, there's not a rough grouse to be found, but they're in Wyoming and they're in Idaho, and so it's and I look at a lot of stuff in Colorado on the map, and I'm like, man, it seems like they should be here, because it's roughly similar to those other Western states, but I'm sure there's probably somebody that explained to me why. So it makes me wonder if yeah, maybe they were introduced, into Utah. Maybe not. I know that I feel like your ptarmigan species, those have been introduced there in Utah, at least in the Uinta Mountains, or however you say that.
Yep. Yep.
Um, and so yeah, it's interesting how some of
You've
those
done
birds
your
kind of get
research.
mixed. Yeah, I'm probably to a fault, man. I don't know. I love reading about all that stuff and just learning about every state, and kind of their bird landscape, and what type of game birds you can find in it. So yeah, it's kind of one of my the people at work know me as the bird nerd, and it's not just game birds, it's also just
It's everything.
it's I've got my Merlin bird app out, quite a bit, and just really love it. So that's good, man. So yeah, man, like when do you had this tradition, with your family and your brother and sister as kids. I feel like there's at least this was the case for me, and my story is quite a bit different, in fact, where I didn't start hunting until I was an adult. But I still had this like kind of moment where there's plenty of people out there that they have a variety of game that they pursue. For me, come September, if I've got any time available to do something, I'm going to be chasing birds with my dog. Like that's just me though. Um, but I definitely have hunted a lot of things, and I've hunted out of state for Western big game, and done all that kind of stuff. But there was like this kind of threshold that I crossed where I'm like, okay, if I'm anything, I'm a bird hunter, and And so for you, like, where did you feel like, um, because I feel like you're obviously kind of building your life around like upland bird hunting and lifestyle and culture and like those kind of things. When was that decision made for like, when did you make that decision where if I'm going to leverage most of my energy into this, not to say that you obviously can't hunt other things, you can't fish and that kind of stuff, because variety is the spice of life, right? But it seems like there are a lot of upland hunters out there that they're pretty darn dedicated to that exclusively too. So do you have like a moment or a threshold that you feel like you crossed where that kind of became like your identity a little bit more, if that makes sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like it came on gradually. So I'm a big fan of the podcast, and I was listening to the past one you had with guys from Cackle Clothing on,
Yes.
and
Thanks,
I
man.
can't remember
Yeah.
which. Yeah, I can't remember which one. He played baseball, and the majority of his time growing up, he had to spend time away, right? And that's kind of how I was. Growing up, of course, when I was younger, um, I was able to do a lot of hunting. We do a lot of big game hunting here in Utah as well, where we're at, a lot of deer and elk hunting. And so a lot of the fall time we were doing that, but then I got into also at a young age baseball and football. And football especially took up a lot of our time during the fall season. So during especially high school, we kind of stepped away from hunting as a family just because of the dedication to competitive sports, and pursuing that. I feel like life is full of stages, and of course, I went from my hunting stage at a young age with my family to the sports, and now I feel like now that I'm out of that aspect, hunting once again brings a little bit of that feeling to me, like I did have in sports, the physicality. Um, I feel like for upland game hunting, not necessarily a competition against others, but the competition against yourself, just
Mm-hmm.
because of the physicality aspect of it. I absolutely love the grind of that. And that's something I want to get into later because a lot of people be like, okay, Kellen's running a podcast, but he doesn't even have his own bird dog as of right now. And that is another thing that's like huge, like without a bird dog, it's a grind. It's quite
Yeah.
the quite the challenge, especially here in Utah with chukar being one of the I feel like most pursued species here just because we have such a vast variety of them. Chukar hunting
Mm-hmm.
is a without bird dog. So relying on family and friends with dogs is always great. Like still having those opportunities to be able to do that for now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I feel like it's been a gradual process for me. Probably early 20, like my early 20s. I'm 25 now. So from like 20 to 25, it's been getting back into hunting, realizing, wow, this is what I want to do. I'm passionate about it. I was actually studying psychology in college, and I was like, wow, this is not it for me.
Mm-hmm.
I got a year into it. I'm like, man, this just isn't it. So I took like a few years off and trying to figure out what I want to go into. And honestly, communications was kind of, I was like, a lot of my credits will be able to transfer over from psychology. They have a lot of the same things. I'm like, you know what, I'll go into that. And I started really looking into it and realized, you know what, I could branch into something that I truly wanted to do, like the hunting and outdoor communicational and marketing side aspect. And ever since, like it's just been a whole lot of fun being able to you actually mentioned this in the past podcast. I mean, the upland game community is absolutely amazing. And like
Mm-hmm.
you said before, it's nothing against any other community. There's a lot of great people out there, but I feel like especially with guys having bird dogs, I feel like bird dogs make people better.
Yeah.
Uh, and so it's been amazing, especially in the upland game world, um, being able to get to meet a lot of new guys and be able to have those connections with guys.
Mm-hmm.
And because at the end of the day, um, I don't know everything. And if I ever do decide I know everything, well, I better stop right there because I messed up. So I
Hmm.
love being able to learn about guys, learn about what they're doing and learning from them to become a better hunter myself and just a better person too. Cause I mean, there's a lot of things like with hunting that go into just normal day life, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, a lot of good stuff there, man. Yeah, I say it a lot, on the podcast that yeah, the upland community, it's it's just great, and everyone is just so helpful, and there's like so many men and women, that are just like ready to help you and point you in the right direction. And so yeah, I'm excited for you, man, just to kind of crack into that space, and I think there'll definitely be some opportunities presented with you if you just keep at it and keep showing up, um and so yeah, I think that's great, and so what I love too about I think that's like one of the reasons why I love upland hunting so much too is just there's just so much like awesomeness about it besides actually being in the field, and whether it's like working with your dog year round or what you and I like are privileged to do. Sorry, I keep swatting around. There's a fly that keeps chasing me around here, but like you and I are privileged to do to have a podcast where every week we get to hop on with somebody and what I say, kind of have like a baby pheasant fest, like where you're just hanging out with somebody and talking all things upland and just talking shop, and man, how fun is that? And there's always something to learn. Um so yeah, that's cool, and yeah, appreciate you sharing all that. So yeah, you touched on it there for a second, and so let's go ahead and like talk about that. About hunting dogless. I've done that plenty. I know what that's like. I know that pain, if you want to call it, or that grind. Um, and definitely thankful that those days are hopefully behind me. But currently, at least right now, and hopefully for a long time, I don't have to, do that. And so, um, but yeah, it definitely it's a different type of hunting. It's you look at the landscape in a totally different way when you're not relying on a dog, and you have to be just kind of on all the time because you never know when a bird's going to flush. But I definitely don't want to talk about it too much because I want you to like share your experience and kind of your side of the coin and what it's like, kind of hunting these, especially this extreme terrain, that you can be hunting like with chucker, where it's so much more extreme than when I'm hunting quail or pheasants around here. So yeah, so tell me about that, man. Like what hunting without a dog, maybe some frustrations, things you learn, maybe some things that you do like about it, and yeah, just anything you want to share about that. This episode is brought to you by Gun Dog Central. If you're looking for your next bird dog, field trial prospect, or even hunting hound, Gun Dog Central is your one-stop shop. They've made it simple to browse a wide range of hunting dogs for sale all in one place. Whether you're an upland hunter chasing roosters or quail, a waterfowl enthusiast living for cold mornings in the marsh, or someone competing in field trials, Gun Dog Central connects you with the right dog for your pursuit. One feature I think is really cool is the interactive map Gun Dog has. Just click on a state and find a breeder. It's that simple. They're dedicated to making this the best site to find your next hunting dog. And if you're a dog trader or own a kennel, listing your hunting dog for sale is easy and completely free. Start your search or post your next prospect today at gundogcentral.com. This episode is brought to you by Ballad of the Bird Dog, providing modern, design-forward shopping right in the heart of Brenham, Texas. Skeet, founder and owner Jared Anderson's legendary bird dog, showed us what hunting companions have shown their handlers for generations. That instinct, loyalty, and honest hard work create moments that last forever. And that same philosophy is stitched into everything they do. Ballad of the Bird Dog is built on tradition and heritage, inspiring well-built, essential goods designed to last. It's about simplicity, dependability, products you can trust from people that just get the bird dog lifestyle. If you believe in quality over flash, heritage over hype, and in goods that work as hard as you do, you'll feel right at home. Visit balladofthebirddog.com or its beautiful brick and mortar shop in Brenham, Texas, and experience the story for yourself.
Yeah, so with that, like you said, it can be a pain. It's a grind. My wife and I got married about 4 years ago, and problem is Utah is an absolutely amazing state, as we've talked about, and everybody's figuring that out. And so,
Right.
since, since COVID, we've had a numerous amount of people move into the state, and it's kind of funny that we happen to get to this point in life, where we've come to want to buy a house, but the the housing market here in Utah is absolutely crazy right now. And
Yeah.
so, it's been mostly the past few years just working, saving towards, um, buying a house so we can have a bird dog. I mean, every month we put away money for a bird dog because that's the first, like I told my wife and she's on board with it. First purchase when we buy a house is going to be a bird. And so, and she's completely good with that. And I'm grateful that
You're
she's good with
not
that as
not
well.
even gonna
So
have a couch. Just
I
before we get a
know.
bird
Yeah.
dog.
I'm like, everything that we have, we will take it with us and that'll be our first purchase, or at least one of the first purchases.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, that's awesome.
And so hopefully at this point, we're closer than we are far away from it. So hopefully within this year, we'll be able to make that happen. I won't be having to do that grind as difficult. But like you said, it's quite a bit of a very different kind of hunting for sure. And I feel like that's been the most difficult part for me is my whole life I grew up with dogs in my life. So transitioning out of that in my 20s, it's like, man, this is the best time to have one, but I can't have one. And it's kind of a funny story with that is
Mhm.
we live in a great little community. We live in like I can't remember how old this house is, but it's subdivided into two. So we got the upstairs neighbors and we're down in the basement. So you're all probably wondering why I'm wearing this, and that's why it's it's like 60 degrees down. So it was kind of funny because as soon as I got in here, let a few months go by after we got married, and I asked our landlord, who's actually a family friend, and I'm like, "Do you think we could maybe get dogs or something? I mean, we'll leave them outside, we won't bring them inside, and we'll try to do everything that we possibly can, right?" And, she was all on board for it, except for the upstairs neighbors.
Mm.
And the upstairs neighbors' excuse was, "We're worried about them bringing too many flies." I'm like, "Wow." So, at the end of the day, it's kind of funny. The one thing that's keeping me from having a bird dog is flies in
Yeah,
a
I
rural
I
in a
thought
rural community.
yeah, and I thought you were gonna say fleas, which would make more sense, but,
You
like
think.
yeah, but
Yeah.
flies, yeah, that's a new one on me, man.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I mean, around where we're at, there's a lot of dairy farms and stuff. So, I mean, we're out in the country. It's fly season. Like, we got a lot of flies, and the biggest thing that they're worried about is bringing more flies because of dogs, and I'm like, "Oh, man,
Yeah,
it's funny, man."
yeah. Sounds just kinda more like a silly excuse than anything,
I
honestly.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, so, like, what's maybe, I don't know, if somebody's listening and they don't have a dog, but they wanna take up bird hunting, what's maybe like a tip or a hack? I've got one or two that kind of come to mind for me, but like I want to hear from you first. Is there anything that you would recommend for someone taking off dogless?
Man, I would say one of my best friends is Onyx, and I mean, at this point, I bet most hunters have Onyx,
Yeah.
but without hunting dogs, I mean, even with dogs, of course, Onyx is great, but I feel like it's definitely been a huge tool for me, being able to mark and put notes on where I'm seeing, what time, what part of the day, what was the temp, all these things, right? I feel like that's really been a great utilization for me. Um, as well, it's really nice to have people. I mean, I still have family members that have dogs, so I'm not always out there hunting this way. I got family and friends that will go
Hmm.
out and hunt behind bird dogs, and I forget. I get to remember what it's like and have to go back uh, to the grind after that is quite difficult. But I feel like that's the biggest thing is Onyx, and then honestly, being able to reach out and make friends with people, and of course, you don't wanna blow up guys' spots. If somebody takes you out to their spot, be respectful of it, be kind of it, you know? They're giving up their time, they're giving up their, wouldn't say necessarily their but it is it's their spot, so being respectful, uh, being able to have that, like I said, and like we've talked about before, the upland game community is great. There's so many guys out there that just wanna get their dogs out,
Yeah.
and it doesn't matter with who, when, or where. If they get the opportunity to get a dog out, they're going to, and if it helps benefit somebody and give somebody a good experience, I know what I mean, at least in this area where I'm at, guys are willing to do that. And I
Yeah.
feel like if you're respectful, kind enough, and, willing to learn from them as well. I mean, especially if you're looking to, in the future, have a bird dog, it's great to be able to learn from guys who have bird dogs, you know?
Mhm.
Take in as much information as you possibly can from these guys because they're the ones out there doing it, you know?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, a couple of really good things there. The onyx thing, that it because onyx is almost like synonymous with hunting now. I almost feel like, and just how much they've blown up in the last handful of years, and for good reason. I mean, it's an incredible resource. Um, but I think you point out a really good thing where it's that much more critical that when you flush, let's say, a covey of chucker, and it's like, okay, what hillside was I on? I'm gonna mark that. I'm gonna like really, maybe I'm gonna snap a couple photos of like where they were, what were they feeding on. I'm gonna like be that much more of a student of that area because I'm not gonna have a dog to rely on that if I don't find them in this area. Like, well, they're maybe, and I don't really know a whole lot about chucker, but they're around here somewhere. So the dog would, eventually we're just going to find him again. But it's not perhaps quite that way, with, not having the advantage of a dog. You've got the odds stacked against you. So I think that was a really good observation to point out there. It's obviously very valuable for a dog owner, but I think, it's crucial, almost for a dogless hunter. A couple things that I'm thinking about is, and I do this too, even with a bird dog now, but I think it's even, that much more critical when you don't have a dog, is when you shoot a bird. And I guess maybe this applies more maybe like in grassy areas if you're hunting pheasants, or out on the prairie hunting sharptails or something like that. And it's not just bare kind of rock shale, maybe like chucker country. Um, but to drop your hat, and the proximity of where you feel like you saw the bird go down, and so use that as a marker. And because if you start looking, you don't have a point of reference, you're going to lose that point of reference really fast. You need to have something that you can visually attach to as a reference point, so that when you get when you drift out and you're like, man, where did like the bird even go down? I don't know. You know exactly where your starting point was. So that's one thing that I would recommend. And then maybe making like kind of just keep casting wider circles, out from the hat or something like that. Just something where you can methodically cover that ground. And another thing too, and once again, this is kind of more like in these grassy, brushy areas, that I'm more accustomed to hunting to. Um, but when you see the bird go down, wherever you think it went down, go about 5 to 10 yards farther. Um, the way that our eyesight is, and the way that the arc of the bird typically when it's falling, it goes further away from you than you think that it does when it hits the ground. Your eyes can just deceive you. So that'd be a couple things that I would touch on, or a couple things that I would offer is that these birds, yeah, they typically fall a little bit farther than what we think they do. I don't know how many times where, when I do find the bird, I'm like, oh, I went 5 yards further, 6 yards further, and there it was, and so it's easy to misjudge that, so that'd be a couple things that I would say. But man, I want to switch gears here, and I want to talk about your podcast. I definitely want to give you time to share about that as well. So yeah, Bird Camp Radio. I've tuned into it, enjoyed some episodes from it, and And yeah, man. So tell us all about that. You know, like what inspired you to get a bird hunting podcast started? I want to hear the story behind all that, man.
Yeah, so it all really started about last year. I mean, well, the whole thing was about gradual as well. So when I started studying communications, I was like, start me and my dad actually talked about doing a podcast. It was one of the ideas that he wanted to do actually, and we kind of touched base on it here and there. Never knew what we'd actually do, but that kind of faded for him, and I started. I mean, of course, studying more and doing a lot more within my degree, and I'm like, you know what, this is actually something I think would be a lot of fun to do, but I never
Mm-hmm.
did pull the trigger or had quite the idea of what I wanted. I mean, of course, there were some ideas. Of course, hunting was one of them, but it was like I don't know necessarily what I'd want to do. Um, but as it gradually came on, like especially hunting upland game, and I was like, you know what? I think this is what I want to do. I want to be able to learn from guys, hear people's stories. I mean, I grew up with a family. My dad was always reading the old time magazines, and I'd always loved reading the stories and the old field and streams and stuff like that. And so I think it's really important to be able to hear people's stories and
Mm-hmm.
give them an opportunity to share it because there's a lot of guys that leave this world without even been known. And I feel
Mm-hmm.
like there's so many stories with so many different guys that probably wouldn't have the opportunity to do it, that now have, and they every time they're like, "Oh, I was nervous about it, but that was so much fun. I absolutely love being able to do that. I'd like to get onto another podcast." But that's besides the point. That's above it. And so I feel like really where it came from was, and I bet everybody knows, or at least the majority of listeners know, last year, um, roughly September, I believe, is when it really started working its way in. Maybe during late summer, was Mike Lee with the public land dispute from
Mm-hmm.
Utah,
Mm-hmm.
and the sell-off of public lands. And I thought it was absolutely fascinating to be able to see people from all walks of life, not just hunters, but I mean, left, right, whatever you were, come together and fight for our public lands. And I thought that was the coolest thing that I have ever seen, being able to be a part of that myself. Um, Being in the upland game community, seeing the upland game community fight for that, big game hunters, hikers, literally everybody, even people who don't even agree with what we do, fighting for the same cause. And I was like, you know what? I want to be able to create something, um, a community where people can come together, and do that. And that's where it kind of all came together was like, you know what? This is my passion. I want to fight for this. Let's make it happen. And so that's really where Bird Camp Radio came from, is being able to give uplanders a voice. I mean, that's kind of our motto, is the voices of the uplands, and giving
Mm-hmm.
these guys an opportunity to speak about conservation, their bird dogs, why they choose to hunt in the upland game tradition. It's such a niche sport. So, and it's been so much fun being able to do that and get to know people. I think we've had guys from 24 different states now, or at least by the end of the year, we'll have guys from 24 different states and Canada come on. And every time, like, there is not one podcast episode that I do not learn something from somebody. And of course,
Mm-hmm.
not being a bird dog owner right now, I am soaking up all the information I possibly can from all these guys. Um, for, I mean, of course, breeding, training, may just be a bird dog owner themselves,
Mm-hmm.
uh, from all sorts of different breeds, and learning what I do and what I don't want, what's good for me, what's not good for me. I have an idea of what I want, um, because I've grown up with it, of course. But at the same time, I'm at a different stage of my life where upland game is my focus. I've stepped away from waterfowling and stepped away from the retrievers now, and wanting to get into something else now that I've been able to hunt behind it and learn more about it from some of these guys. So
Yeah.
it's been fun in that aspect, just soaking in all this information, getting to know some great guys from across the whole country.
Yeah. That's cool, man. So what's something that comes to mind, a thing or two that you've learned from some of these conversations?
So I'd say one thing that was really meaningful and that's really impacted me, I'll start with this, is early on in the podcast, still getting everything figured out. We actually had a female uplander on the podcast, our first one, and she shared a super personal conversation on the podcast. And I won't name names, but I feel like she'd be okay with it since she shared it on ours. But she isn't able to have kids, and that's always been something that she wanted to have, right? And she found that out at an early age that she wouldn't be able to. And I mean, looking at the family, I could see how that's really hard, and especially for a woman not being able to have that would be super difficult. Um, the way that she's coped with that, not being able to have that in her life, is bird dogs. Her and her dad um, have 2 or 3, I believe, GSPs, and she has been able to overcome that. That is like her therapy. Those dogs have become therapeutic for her.
Hmm.
Up until that point, she still hadn't shot her first bird yet. That's how much she loved those dogs. Like, I mean, of course, it's all for me. If you get the opportunity, of course, it's all about the dogs, but it really just showed like how much those dogs impacted her because she still hadn't even shot that first bird yet, and just kept on going out on the grind. And she just found herself through that out there with her dad, and that's how she's been able to cope with some really difficult, challenging times for her and some other things in her life as well. Um, and then I feel like I don't even know where to even begin, like, with, I mean, I feel like one of the biggest things for me personally is, of course, learning from guys from all walks of life, different breeds. One of them being, um a Utah uplander here. My wife actually had the opportunity to hunt behind some of his dogs back in October. She's a new hunter, and Utah does through the DWR. They do a little thing for female uplanders and other hunters who are new to it, and they we get to go and hunt on this management area where guys bring their bird dogs, and these new hunters get to learn how to hunt behind bird dogs. And we actually had him on the podcast, and he runs setters, and ever since then, getting to know him, he's a great guy. He's been able to help me uh, learn a lot in uplands, and I feel like he's really set me towards the setter
Yeah.
nation. So I don't know. There's so many different things, so many different aspects, but I feel like that's the biggest thing, and being able to just take away. We always ask one question at the end of like our last question at the end of the podcast is, what kind of advice would you give to new uplanders or uplanders who have been in the tradition? And
Hmm.
usually they can answer that however they want to, of course. And they always answer it with both. People always have great advice. So it's been great in that way.
Yeah, that's great, man. Love that. Love that. So, sounds like you kind of hinted at it there is with breeds that you're entertaining, maybe getting down the road. It sounds like maybe a setter is what you got your crosshairs on.
I do. I do have a thing for the flashy English setter, so I believe that's the way that I want to go. I have some other options too I'm looking at, but I
Yeah.
think that's
What all breeds have you hunted with so far?
so. What I've hunted behind is my dad has a Goldador as of right now. That's usually who we hunt behind. Walt. Um, absolutely love him. He's been a great bird dog, especially with pheasants. Um, done a lot of pheasant hunting and duck hunting with him. I've hunted behind GSPs and English setters. So
Okay.
I've had, and then of course the Labradors growing up as well. So kind of a mix between the Goldadors, Retrievers, and Labradors, and then GSPs and the the setters. So
Yeah.
had a few different. I'd like to get. I know a few guys who have the few spaniels that I'd like to go try out, just see,
Yeah.
but we'll see.
Yeah. Are am I hearing you right? Are you saying Goldador?
Goldador. Yep.
Okay, I've never heard that. Yeah, kind of tell me about that a
Yeah.
little bit.
So he's a cross between a golden retriever and a Labrador.
Okay.
Yep. So yep, I believe his mom was a golden retriever and his dad is a yellow lab. And
Yeah.
honestly, I we've absolutely loved the cross just because of the mindset that it brings. You get a bit of that golden mindset. Like, I mean, both are family dogs, right? But I feel like golden retrievers have a little bit more of that relaxed, easy, just kind of a
Okay.
goofy,
Yeah.
have a lot of personality.
Mm-hmm.
But then as well, I feel like they have like he brings the drive of a Labrador out in the field.
Hmm.
And so and he also has a little bit more of he pulled more of that short, finer hair. So when we're out in the brush and the tuies, he's not getting caught up in it nearly as much as like a golden retriever, long-haired
Yeah.
golden retriever would be. So it's kinda crossing those and getting the perfect mix, you know? And it's been a
Yeah.
lot of fun being able to watch him.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. And I figured that's what it was, but I just had never heard that term, and maybe that's a common term. I don't know, but
Yeah, I don't
um,
know.
yeah, I and I'm thinking back on my childhood. We had I think he was a lab retriever mix, and so yeah, because he wasn't. I know he wasn't a full golden retriever, but he also wasn't a full lab either. So I think maybe he would have qualified as a Goldador as well, which we didn't hunt or anything. It was just a family dog, but he probably would have been a decent hunter, if he would have been in the right hands. So yeah, so maybe I was a Goldador owner as well. I don't know. That's cool. Well, yeah, man, I've hunted with several setters. Tell us a little bit more about that. I mean, I know you said that the flagging tail, but yeah, is there anything else about the setter that just really captures your imagination?
I don't know. I feel like I mean, I'm a big Field and Stream fan, looking at a lot of those old magazines, the flashy look of the setter.
Mm-hmm.
As well, I think it really helps that he's actually his bird dogs are some of the best in the state for sure. I mean, he's won a few championships. I mean, his oldest dog, I believe, is 16 years old now.
Mm.
She's like a six-time world champion with it. It's like
Wow.
so I mean, I did get I a little spoiled that way in that sense, but I've never owned a setter or pointer. I haven't had that opportunity, and I feel like I'd like to get into the challenge. I feel like GSPs are a little bit too much for me for getting into it. I mean, high energy. I mean, so is a setter, but high energy, a little bit longer ranging, and I'm not sure if that's necessarily what I want to get into right now.
Yeah.
Um, so I feel like that's really the biggest thing. Even though here in Utah, I feel like the common breed you're looking at is GSPs just because of the chucker country.
Mm.
A lot of those guys want those long ranging dogs out in that country. Um, for me, where I'm at, I do a lot of pheasant hunting and a lot of grouse hunting. So having a setter that works a little bit closer range, working back towards me that way, I feel like that'll help benefit me a little bit more out
Mm-hmm.
there where we're hunting. Um, but I'm open-minded. As of right now, we consider ourselves like the equine uplanders too. I forgot to mention that earlier. Me and my wife own 2 horses. We both come from horse families as well, and
Okay.
that's usually how we did big game hunting too, is we'd pack in with the horses, and, that's kinda where all of my grouse hunting started was if you had a bad a bad, big game hunt, you knew you could at least come home and help your pride a little bit with a few birds, coming back to camp with
Yeah. Yeah.
a lot of the time right now, we'll take our horses up the mountain. That's usually how we grouse hunt now. I mean, where we're hunting grouse here in Utah, of course, it's mountainous. I mean, we're ranging from 5,000 feet in elevation starting in some areas and gaining up to 9,000 in some areas, depending on start to finish and where we're at.
Yeah. Very cool. So, since since you're on horseback, are you getting and you're not hunting with a dog, right? So are you like tell us about how the flush of the bird, the shot, what's a sequence look like, with
Yeah,
horses and dogs?
so that is where Onyx is honestly my biggest friend, and like you were saying before, and like I've said too, is being able to have those pinpoints and knowing, at least with grouse where we're at, for the most part, especially with blue grouse, once you get into them, you kind of have an idea of where they're at. A lot of them are in pockets. So if I can get that pinpoint and that waypoint there, it makes it a little bit easier. So a typical flush for us looks like, I mean, we'll, of course, get the horses ready, get them up. Usually we're doing 2 to 4 miles till we get to where we wanna be going depending on the waypoint, and it honestly depends, like, it can be quite interesting. I'm not shooting off horseback. I possibly could, but I haven't yet.
Yeah.
Um, I've done some bow hunting that way off the horse, but I don't know if I dare, shoot off yet.
Yeah.
Um, but, as of right now, I mean, of course, with grouse, I mean, it's sometimes they're out, you'll see them, or you'll see them up in the trees, and we'll go flush them from the trees. Just hop off, tie the horses off, go flush them out of the trees, take the shot. Or sometimes we're flushing them from the horses. The horses are doing our flushing for us. Watch where they're going. Usually we're in pockets of junipers and pines, so um, typically we can see where these birds are flying off to,
Yeah.
hurry and tie up and go and flush them that way. So usually it's see them, hop off, tie off, go flush ourselves, or the horses are doing the flushing for us, and tie them up, go find where they went, and then flush. So it's actually quite a lot of fun. I mean, of course,
Yeah.
dogs going from canine to equine, and it's kind of fun that way. Of course,
Yeah.
bird dogs are the top dogs, but I always like to say that horses are the underdogs.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good, man. It kinda reminded me of, his name's Matt Frugier. I had him on several weeks ago. He's out in Nebraska in the Sandhills, and that's like for prairie grouse, that's exclusively what he does because it's just such big, wide open country. And unlike, hunting the mountains, he can watch his dogs for ever,
Right.
out in a place
Yeah.
like that. But it's almost a necessity, hunting off horseback because you can just efficiently cover a whole lot more ground, of a morning. And so yeah, you'll have to, I mean, no pressure, but you have to check out that episode if you learn a little bit more about kind of hunting off horseback, or at least kind of hear his side of things. Because
Definitely. Yeah.
it's just a neat like yeah, it's just neat to me. I don't know if I'll ever do it, but it's I think it's just I don't know. It just is just stellar. Like when I hear somebody doing it, I think it's just like, man, that is just like epic, So, yeah, love it, dude. Love that. Well, man, I definitely want to talk about your book as well. I saw that come out. What was that last year? I think that
Yep.
you released that book, and super cool. Obviously not too many people as a 25, 24-year-old are releasing a book. So I think that's just awesome in itself. I don't know. I don't know if I call it a dream, but think about, I don't know, I think maybe I have a book in me at some point one day. And really enjoy doing like outdoor writing such as yourself. And so yeah, man, I want to hear all about this book, like Where the Grouse Once Drummed. I don't know a ton about it. I know it's been out there kind of in the wild for, handful of months to a year now. So tell us all about it, man. What the story and just what your inspiration was behind it, the feedback, the response that you've had from it, and anything and everything in between that you want to tell us about it, man.
Yeah, so it's been quite the journey, writing a book is quite the feat, of course, and if you get the opportunity, definitely do it because you'll never regret it. Now, I don't know if I'll ever write another one, but at least I
Yeah.
have that opportunity. Um, but I feel like of course, it's an upland game, uh, book, but it's fiction, so it's based off of a story of a guy based out of Arkansas, and, throughout my life, I mean, as everybody has their own challenges, their own things that they're fighting. At a young age, my parents divorced, and that was difficult for me, especially at a young age. And this book isn't necessarily based off of that, but just of course things that happen in life. And this guy has the journey of actually meeting this old uplander out of Arkansas who runs setters actually. And kind of an interesting fact, out in Arkansas, rough grouse are actually extirpated from the state. Back in, I believe, the 1950s, 1960s were the last time they really saw them. But at one point, they were flourishing. But with deforestation and overhunting and regulations and stuff like that, um, they were extirpated. So it's kind of a symbolic book here where this kid meets this guy. He's going through a lot of things in his life. His parents divorced. His dad was an alcoholic, ends up dying from alcoholism, and he's lost in that way. Um, so there's a little bit of romance too. He's got a girlfriend, and that's a whole nother situation. But really getting to I won't give it all away, but really getting down to what it is. It's him being able to find himself, having a mentor in the uplands. He'd never really upland game hunted before, but he had the opportunity to be able to do that with this guy. They get talking about the old ruffed grouse and what it was, and he kind of ends up symbolizing this bird. He starts realizing that he's kind of been extirpated from his own life. He's allowed himself to fall into that, and so this bird kind of becomes that symbolic meaning in his life that helps get him
Mm.
through. And so it's kind of neat that way, being able to have that transition, being able to make upland symbolic in a person's life.
Yeah.
And in the long run, he ends up being able to live the life that he wanted, and he never really would have thought that beforehand,
Mm-hmm.
before meeting this mentor of his and his dogs, and being able to learn about the rough grouse story. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
kind of
That's cool. That's really cool. And I think it's neat with I don't know, like when we talk about like hunting and there's so much like just practical information that we're seeking out, or like we want to read a book on how to be a better rough grouse hunter. There's not a ton of literature out there that's just fictional, that weaves in like the upland hunting lifestyle. And I just think that's really neat, man, that you kind of, it's a very narrow kind of niche, that you've kind of written about. And I think that's just such a neat thing, so I'll definitely put that in the show notes, for people to
yeah.
to snag that book. But yeah, man, tell us about like, I mean, I'm certain you've had some feedback about it, and people reading the book, and yeah, like what's kind of, afterwards, the aftermath of getting the book and getting it released. Yeah, any cool stories from it, or just like feedback, anything
Ah,
that you want to share? Yeah.
yeah, I feel like what you said, a lot of those books out there are, of course, more of know-how or about upland game specifically. When people saw that I released a book and saw the name of it, they think, of course, okay, it's about rough grouse. It's like simply about rough grouse. And so people go and buy this book and they read it and they're like, wow, like that's not necessarily what we were expecting, but I really wanted to create something, especially for these upland hunters. I mean, having the motivation, of course, of upland hunting, but being able to have, like I said, that meaning and impact at the end of the book. And I feel like that's what's really resonated with a lot of people, is the wow factor, almost like, whoa, I wasn't expecting this.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a lot of fun. I mean, it's been great, and I feel like a lot of guys have enjoyed it. Of course, it's a little bit of a different read than what they were, of course, expecting.
Sure.
But I feel like it's in the long run for the best, because I feel like I feel like coming from me with the experiences from that, I was able to put that in that book. And I feel like I said, everybody's fighting their own things out there and their own battles. And when you have a book that you can almost relate to,
Mm-hmm.
uh, it kind of helps that way. Being able to have that upland game aspect and having a mentor and having the bird dogs in your life. Even though it's not necessarily just about upland game hunting and the how to or the know how, um, there's a lot of the behind the things that hunting actually does for us, the things
Mm-hmm.
that may necessarily focus on every day. Of course, we know they're there, and we kind of throw it in the back of our heads until we really think about it. Um, I really tried to get those kinds of kind of feelings and knowledge in that. It's kind of the things that we put in the back of our head. That's what I wanted that book to be.
Yeah.
So, um,
Man, yeah, that's
yeah.
good, man. That's good. And it reminds me of, I don't know if you know who Chad Love is, but he used to be the editor for the Quail Forever magazine. Um, and I remember listening to a podcast and him talking about outdoor writing, and he said that in his opinion, the best hunting stories really aren't overall about hunting, but it's like there's a bigger concept just about life. And I remember when he said that, it just really struck me. I was like, yeah, that's it. That's like what I resonate with. And we're not talking about like gear review or destinations or a breed profile or something like that. That's got its place for sure. But I think for me, and it kind of sounds like maybe for you too, is that storytelling definitely is like what moves me the most and is the most compelling thing for me. And I think that's like when I'm out hunting, I'm not just like chasing a bird. I obviously am, and I'm chasing my dog around as it chases a bird. But I'm also like, I've kind of got like my receivers on, or whatever, my little antennas, if you will. And I'm like, okay, like what is there anything that like I want to like share from this, or is it like what's happening right now? What story is being told? And I try to look for that, and I try to keep like a notebook even in the truck, so that when I get back I can jot down an idea or something like that. Um, and I don't know, and I have to think that there's a lot of people out there that like resonates with them the most. So I appreciate you once again. I appreciate you not breaking ground because you're not the first person that's done something like that, but it is a neglected, if I can use that word, a neglected like kind of art form in the hunting industry. And so yeah, I just appreciate you being a voice in that, and yeah, like you said, don't know if you'll ever write a book again, but but there'll be plenty of articles and essays and stuff like that and short stories, that I imagine will still come from your brain. So I think that's really cool. I think it's good, man. So appreciate it, dude.
Yeah, man, I appreciate and I like you said, I completely agree, and I'm glad that you're out there with a notebook and because that's where I have to write this down right now,
Yeah.
and, like I said, I feel like the biggest thing is the artwork. I'm a fly fisherman as well, and for some reason, we talked about this on my podcast as well. It's funny how uplanders a lot of uplanders fly fish as well, and I
Yeah.
really think it's because of the artwork between the 2 of them. And I'm
Hmm.
not saying that other hunting or fishing doesn't have that artwork, but I feel like there's just so much detail and, like, a work of fineness in both of them
Hmm.
that I mean, it takes work, like I said, everything takes work, but I feel like in their own way, they're very intricate and it's an art, so being able to really focus on that, I feel like was the biggest thing.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. No, I think so. And it's definitely not. I'm not knocking like any other subtype of hunting, but there is definitely like a. This is gonna sound kind of weird, but like there is like this just like poeticness or poetry, to upland hunting, especially if you're doing it with a dog and just watching the instincts play out before you. Um, Yeah, I mean, like you said it yourself. Like, there's nothing better. Let's just take a setter for example. There's just nothing better than like watching that dog kind of quarter back and forth, and then when it freezes into a point and that tail goes straight up, and it's just that calm before the storm of a covey of whatever or a big rooster pheasant getting up. I mean, that's just incredible. And then even like on the fly fishing side of things, because I'm definitely not. I don't know if I'd say I'm a fly fisherman, but like I can decently
Yeah,
fly fish. And when that loop is tight, like on that leader and everything, and it sends out and it goes right where you're wanting it to go, and you're just watching that fly drift down the stream. Like, I mean, there's just like a poetry to it, that it's not really, yeah, you want to catch the fish, but there's like this contextual thing that we're enjoying about the entire experience. Like I don't just have this laser focus like on this big trophy animal or something like that. It's this all encompassing thing for me. And I think that anybody can make that argument for elk bugling in the mountains, or just watching the woods come alive, in a tree stand, when you're waiting for a big buck to come by or something like that. So like, of course. um but there is this like aesthetic, that I think that we just kind of lean into naturally as a lot of upland bird hunters, whether it's that or whether it's kind of in the warmer months or even colder months, of throwing a fly out on the water. And so yeah, I think you're spot on with that. I think you're spot on. So it's Yeah, that makes a lot of
You said
sense.
it perfectly.
Yeah, man. Well, man, as we're kind of winding things down, got one last question here before we hop into a rapid fire. But yeah, man, I know we kind of talked about some of your aspirations, with college and everything, but yeah, man, like what's next for, I don't know, Bird Camp Radio, you as a writer, I don't know, that next chapter. I know obviously getting a bird dog at some point, once we get this house, and we'll definitely want to check back in with you at some point and see how things are going with a setter or whatever you may get. But yeah, man, what's maybe kind of the next thing on the horizon from a communication storytelling career kind of thing for you that you're looking towards?
Yeah, so of course we're definitely full send with the podcast as of right now. I'll be graduating next spring with my bachelor's degree, so that's hopefully where everything will kind of kickstart off right now. Everything right now is kind of a precursor, of course, getting ready for that opportunity.
Hmm.
Um, I am a member of the Outdoor Writers Association of America, where next month I'll have the opportunity to go to the conference in Wisconsin this year and be able to connect with other guys that are in the same kind of boat as I am with that, get to meet some of my mentors that have been able to help me get to this point and aspect of it. When it comes to the writing as of right now, of course, I've put a pause on. I'm mulling some ideas with books. Of course, haven't started. Don't know if I will start, but I've really started really focusing on my articles and stories and like that. As of right now, I have 2 that have, been bought and are going to be published in the Fur Fish Game magazine.
Awesome.
Hopefully more here soon will, get published in a few others, and have about 2 other, articles right now that I've been working on as well, so kinda just full send with all of that, and, hopefully by the time I get my bachelor's degree, I have a few internships um, lined up hopefully here within the next few months that I'll be able to kind of work out some things in outdoor and hunting aspect of things. So hopefully it all works out and we'll see what happens. It's an adventure, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's exciting, man. It sounds like it's yeah, a horizon of possibilities for you. So definitely, yeah, just keep it up, keep hammering, keep writing, and having guests on, and like it can do nothing but good for you. You know what I mean? And just building those relationships, and to harken back what we were saying, several minutes ago, that there's a lot of people out there that just want nothing more than to help you, as well. And because we're all just, generally we're rallying around the same thing, to be a voice for the uplands and public lands. And, of course, like we all want to go out and find birds and shoot birds and eat birds. And like, that's a piece of it. But it's so much more than that. There's so much more that we're out there chasing and trying to preserve and uphold. So, yeah, man, just keep up the good fight. And yeah, those opportunities will present themselves in time. I'm certain of that. So, well, Kellen, man, this has been a ton of fun. I always like to do a fun little rapid fire here before we close things out. So, and I always tell people to, I call it rapid fire. It doesn't have to be like just bulleted. You can expound upon this as much as you want. So, I probably need to call it something else besides rapid fire. Maybe somewhat rapid fire, or I don't know. But yeah, so this first one, man, best bird to hunt in your opinion, and why?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm going to go with the rough grouse. I love being able to hunt them up in the mountains, and they are absolute little ball of rockets. I end up shooting more pines than I do them.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I think any of us that have hunted rough grouse, we can definitely attest that we've definitely bagged a few trees, in the process. So that's just a part of it. It- the Since I'm certain, you've had this opportunity to kind of do like a side by side comparison. Do you like the taste of rough grouse more than duskies, or vice versa?
But that's a good question. I feel like they're very similar.
Okay.
Um, and honestly, I think I'd go with the blue grouse over the rough grouse just because there's more to it.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's honestly sixes for me flavor wise.
Okay.
But Yeah, 6 is flavor wise, but I'd probably go with blue grouse just because of the size. Get a little bit more to it. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
because they're. I mean, I've seen one, but it's been years ago. But I mean, they're about the size, like body wise, of like a rooster pheasant. Is that right?
Oh yeah, if you a big blue grouse can be pretty dang close to that size. So you're
Okay.
getting quite a bit of meat off of that bird.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Piece of gear that you never leave the vehicle, or is maybe like always on the saddle. I'll throw that option out there as well.
That's a good question. So I'm gonna have to go with the for one of them, definitely my polarized game vest out of Utah, tried and true. Got to
Yeah.
go with it. And then as well, my Taurus Judge with the 6.5-inch barrel.
Okay.
It's able to shoot the 45 caliber and 410 shell. So it's a great, especially when we're up in the back country hunting grouse or anything out in the back country. It's really good to have just in
Yeah.
case.
Yeah. Yeah. You got I'm assuming mountain lions there, but also is there grizzlies at all like in that region?
Where we're at, as far as I know, we don't. Um, we
Black
do
bear.
have black bear and a lot of mountain lions. We have a lot of mountains. So
Okay.
my uncle actually got attacked by one, so I'm a little bit weary of that.
Yeah, yeah, I would be too, man. I've never seen one, and if I do, I would like for it to be at quite a distance. So, uh, yeah, yeah. No, don't blame me on that one. Good answer. Best gas station snack, whether for a road trip, bird hunting adventure, or even just like locally, after a hunt, something like that. Best snack at the gas station.
Okay. I don't know if you've had this one yet, but this is like our go-to, and even when I'm not hunting, is the Belvita breakfast snacks. I don't know if anybody knows what those are. They're like the little biscuits.
Yeah.
And you can get in like they come in a package of 4, like in one package wrapping. But yeah, I can go hours on just one single one of those. I like the blueberry and the chocolate kind. Those are the
Okay.
best.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like my go-to.
Yeah. 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 That's good, man. That's good. I was expecting like just some like a slim jim something junky, so you got like
I know.
somewhat kind of healthy snack there with some whole grains and stuff, which I'm appreciative of too. I try to somewhat adhere to a diet like that. So no, it's a good answer, man. It's good. um Favorite upland recipe?
Ooh, so I'm gonna go with I don't know how many of you guys have heard it, and I don't know how to necessarily explain it, but marry me chicken.
Okay.
Yep. So we like to do it in a cast iron skillet. It consists of oh man, what does it have? It's basically like not necessarily a soup, but it almost kind of like a marsala in its own way.
Yeah.
It's you have like what are they? I forgot what kind of tomatoes they are, but it's great. Sun-dried tomatoes in there.
Yeah.
Cook it over the cast iron skillet. We actually tried that for the first time uh, just a few months ago with my spring turkey, and I think that's now going to be the go-to with a lot of things. So
Yeah. So is it like because I made pheasant marsala several months ago with like white cooking wine. Is it something along those lines that you're using to make like a gravy or something like that?
yeah, almost kind of almost like that. It's yeah, in a way, because I mean you kind of render it down. I mean, of course, you have a lot of like Italian seasonings for it that you cook down. Uh, or you got your sun-dried tomatoes. You got broth. I can't remember. I'd have to get you the recipe and everything, but it's kind of a newer one for us.
Yeah.
But I'd say pheasant marsala is probably a close second for
Yeah.
me now. Which
Yeah.
before that was like my go-to, but I think this takes the cake for now, and that may be because it's new.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
definitely think it's great.
Yeah. When I made that pheasant marsala, which I'd never made a recipe like that, even with chicken, and we sat down to eat it, and I was just like, I can't, I can't get over how good it actually is.
Yeah, I
you
know
know,
it's so
it's so good. It's so good. Just it had just like this this hardiness to it with the mushrooms, but it like had like some acidity, and then we had mashed potatoes with it, which I felt like just was like the perfect like thing to have with along with it. So it was killer, man. I loved it.
Yeah, and if there's somebody that hasn't had like wild game before, that's like one of the best ones to start with. I feel like we've
Sure.
done that with we tend to do that with my in-laws. They haven't eaten much of like wild game at all, really. And we'll have them over for dinner, and we won't tell them anything until afterwards, you know,
Yeah.
not to spit it out. But I'd say another one is white chicken chili. I like to do like chucker chili. Usually I do that with my rough grouse, blue grouse, and chuckers. I feel like the flavor of them really intermingle with that kind of recipe. But if
Yeah.
anybody wants that um marry me chicken, it's actually a turkey dish from Meat Eater that they did, but it's
Okay.
yeah, so you can hop on the Meat Eater website and find that exact one, and it's great. We love that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool, man. Cool. Yeah, well, want to make sure to definitely all the places where your book can be found is that Amazon, a website. Like, yeah, give a plug for that.
Yeah, so it's on Amazon. So that's the one place that we're selling right now. You can get it in hardcover, paperback, and as well, we actually had a guy voice record it for us. So we hired
Cool.
a guy to record it, so you can actually find that on there as well, if you just want to listen to it. So and it's great. He's got like we picked an Arkansan for it just to fit the vibe of
Yeah.
it. Got the
Yeah.
Arkansas accent, so it's great that way. He did.
That's good, man. Yeah. Well, I'll definitely put a link for that and link to the Bird Camp Radio podcast as well. And yeah, man, it's been a privilege to have you on today. And I got one last question for you, buddy. What keeps bringing you back to the uplands?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would say the connection um with people that I get to hunt with, and as well with the land that we have to enjoy,
Hmm.
giving me that opportunity to feel like the uplands give me that opportunity to create relationships with the people that I love and get to meet new people who I end up getting to love as well, and as
Hmm.
well to hunt the land that's been for generations and generations and generations, being able to hunt that land that we've been given. Um, I feel like that's really special.
Hmm.
Um, Having that motivational factor. It's really hard to be able to link it down to one specific thing, but if I were to, I would say those connections between the land and the people I get to enjoy it with.
Yeah. Yeah. Super well said, man. Love it. Well, Kellen, this has been tremendous. Really appreciate you sharing your story, man, and the cool things that you're doing out, to serve the upland community means a lot, man. And just, yeah, like I said, just keep it up. And man, thanks for being on the show today. Really appreciate it.
Hey, thank you, man, and right back to you. I love this podcast and everything that you're doing. Any podcast out there, you know how it is, and the way that you're doing it, focusing on the guys out there and the uplanders, the community and conservation. I love it, man. Thank you.